Alright guys, I have it ready, and today's string choice is SIT strings, power wound nickel, 9 through 42, extra light gauge. SIT, stay in tune strings. They're about $1 less my price than the Ernie Ball strings. So when I'm just doing restrings on guitars that I own, it kind of makes sense to try to save $1 on them. So that's why I'm doing the SIT strings. So they come packaged 2 strings per small pack here. Samick guitars, a huge manufacturer of guitars. Probably one of the top 3 or top 4 largest guitar manufacturers in the world. Okay, now I gotta keep in mind that this is a lefty, so we do this upside down. So our low string's over on this side now. But yeah, Samick makes a lot of guitars. And some of those older Epiphones were made by Samick, so if you look in the serial number of your older Epiphone, a lot of them will start with an S. And I believe that means it was out of the Samick factory. They have a lot of factories in China and in Indonesia and even Korea, South Korea. A lot of you, I'm getting a lot of comments, and I really appreciate the comments, guys. I'm getting a lot of comments about guys that love working on guitars, and old guitar shops they used to frequent have gone out of business. You know what? I highly recommend getting into this line of business. You know, once you hit about maybe 50 years old, let's say you're in your 50s, like I am. You got a little tiny bit of money saved up, and you've got a good collection of guitars that you've collected over the years, and you enjoy and love restringing guitars, and you enjoy this kind of work, go ahead and find a little spot and lease out a little brick and mortar spot and open your own guitar shop. Get your buy, sell, and trade license together, and get a business license, and get some insurance, and get your alarm system hooked up, and you'll be good to go. And you'll be amazed at how much fun it is when your customers start bringing in guitars that they want to sell. And if you're the kind of guy that loves restringing guitars, and you love bringing them back to life and playing them and making them look nice, then this is the job for you. If you're one of those kind of guys that can't finish a project and you have shit laying all over the place, maybe not so much, you guys. Because you have to put these things together, get them shined up, put them somewhere safe in your store for sale, and you can't just have random parts laying all over the place and old beat up guitars that haven't been cleaned up and restrung all over the place. I haven't been in a pawn shop in a long time, but pawn shops were notorious for that. All those guitars that are out in those pawn shops, most of them have issues. And if you can fix those issues, then, you know, there's a good chance that you can make money with your own used guitar shop. You gotta spend a lot of time in your used guitar shop. I'm here 7 days a week. I even come in on Sundays, especially during football season. I love coming in on Sundays because I watch the football games. Unfortunately though, when it comes to football, I live in Arizona, so by default, I'm an Arizona Cardinals fan. But we had a good season last year until it completely fell apart. But, you know, that's how football is. Now I'm talking football in the middle of July. But football, it's getting closer to where it's going to start. I think they have their preseason in August, right? Then September is the first game of the season. I think they've changed it, so instead of having 4 preseason football games, they only have 3 preseason football games now. Alright, so our string height's kind of high. Let me go ahead and see if I can snug this truss rod down a little bit. There we go. This is kind of, looks like it has the 1970s Fender style bullet truss rod end on the there, so on the end, bullet truss rod. Yeah, and my saddles are about as low as they will go. Yeah, there's still a little bit of relief, kind of a lot, honestly. But we're gonna live with that for a minute because I got that truss rod as tight as it will go. Okay, let's double check the tuning on here. So I restring them. I try to give everything a quick little setup and, you know, get them going. But every time I sell a guitar to somebody out of the shop, I tell them, hey, it needs a setup. Because setups are all different. Setups are based on what you want your guitar to feel like. Some guys like the action high, some guys like the action low. There's some of those guys that can play left-handed and they keep them strung up left-handed. They can play them righty. Or there's a couple of guys that are lefties. They take a right-handed guitar and they just flip it over lefty and they can play that thing. Alright, well, that's about all I can do to this one. Guys, in the comments, okay, I got a couple more guitars to do in this video, but in the comments, leave me a comment and tell me what you think I should price this little red left-handed Samick at. On to the next guitar. And okay, this next one is a Harley Benton bass kit. And the plan here, my customer wants this nut to be removed. And I'm hoping that this is going to be an easy job. A little bit of the fretboard right in this area had chipped away and stuff like that, but let's see what we can do. And then we got to lower the action because the string height is really high, so I think we got to probably tighten the truss rod. Even though the saddles look nice and low, got really high string height, so let's see what we can do here. Alright, so that was just laying in there. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit of glue.
Yeah, because it doesn't take much, right? I think they
on a toothpick. Wood glue. You don't really want to use super glue because then it's going to be really hard to take it out if there comes a day when you're going to want to pull it back out. So we do have a nut that has this is the old nut, and you can see that it has that radius. And so we kind of looked at the radius of the fretboard and the radius of the nut, and it's very similar. And it's the same, you know, underneath here. We kind of took a look at that just to make sure that, because sometimes you'll want to put a little tiny shim or something right in the center if it's cut flat underneath there. But I think this one was at the right radius, so we're just gonna let that set up for a while. All right, guys, so we got the Harley Benton kit that was put together. And it's still buzzing a little bit. We tightened the truss rod. It might take a little bit of time to settle in, and the strings are going to pull on it this direction, so that might help a little bit. We did adjust the saddles and we intonated it, and it is intonated nicely. But the nut slots need to be filed down a little tiny bit more. But yeah, the Harley Benton, it came in a kit. Okay, so this Strat just came in, and the guy is in a Pat Benatar tribute band. So he's got a Strat here, and it's got the crazy old metal pickguard. And so I have to just swap it out to just a black pickguard. So that's this project right here. And I figured I might as well turn my camera on and show you guys what I'm doing down here. This has a Kaler on it. So how cool is that? I do like this pickguard though. This thing's heavy metal. And he's got a little Seymour Duncan in here too. And I'm just loosening everything and putting all the screws right in here, that little magnetic dish. Yeah, so some guys do it this way where they just let everything fall. I kind of like Kalers. I understand that it's not like the same kind of control that a Floyd has. But for me, oops, I dropped this. Instead of a spring, some of the pickups have these little rubber things under there, which I like. WD parts, custom pick guards. WD makes a lot of good products. I'll set this back in his case. I think what I'll do is I'm gonna go ahead and just peel the plastic off of here. Sometimes you leave this for the customer to do, but we'll just go ahead and get this off of here. Alright, look at that. It's pretty. Okay, so let's start with this blade right here. This is a really nice guitar. And honestly, at this point, I can't wait to just get it together here and get strings on it and play it for a little while. And kind of check out that Kaler that's on there. Okay, so I have that in there. So I think it's a good idea now to test this. Ooh, boy, that's tough. Before we put all these screws in here. Good. 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 All right, this is going to be a fun one. Made in USA Fender Stratocaster with a little Duncan in there. Now, one thing that I didn't test is wondering if all these screw holes are going to match up. And I think they will, because this guitar, this pickguard is intended to go on a USA Strat. And so from what I'm seeing right here, it's looking like they're going in. Even with the Kaler, the pickguard looks like it's going around the Kaler nicely. Yeah, I think we're good here. He does have some, like, instead of like chrome screws, he's got a couple of them that are sort of, I don't know what you would call that, but it's not very chromy. I think they were for that other pickguard that he had. But I'll replace some of them because I got a whole little tub full of chrome ones. This is the worst part of it. It's all these damn little wood screws everywhere. But I mean, back in the day for Leo Fender to say, you know, I'm gonna build a guitar and I'm just gonna use wood screws to do it. Right? It was a simple plan and it worked so good. And his intentions, Leo Fender's intention was to just use a bolt-on neck, because then when the frets wore out, you could just change the neck. He had no idea people was going to refret their guitars, and that the neck on a lot of them are the most valuable part of the guitar. Okay, let's see here. We got the tip. Lay that baby down on there. We got 3 of these. Doesn't matter really how you put them on, I don't think. Takes this little Allen wrench. I've always been one of those kind of guys that talks to myself all the time anyhow. So it's nice to have the camera rolling so I got somebody to talk to. It does, it's kind of cool. Now on the back of this guitar now, you can see, because there was the Kaler installed, that it doesn't have the back plate. And he goes, well, I got the original back plate, and you can put it on there if you want to. And I said, do you want me to? And he's like, yeah, put it back on. So here's the original back plate. And there are a couple of screws in the baggie. So we're going to put the back plate back on it. You know how I feel about back plates, but this is a little bit different because there's no adjustments to be made down underneath this. Once this goes on here, because of the Kaler, there's no claw, there's no springs under here. So because of that reason, we'll put this back plate on here, and you'll never have to take this back plate off ever again. So this back plate right here does say Corona, California. And you got the micro tilt adjustment right there. It's time for strings. Alright guys, let's put some strings on it. Now my customer had the strings, and they're Ernie Ball strings. 2 of them are this reinforced stuff. Alright, so let's throw some strings on this thing and we will be done with it. And these just lay in there just like that. Let's see. There we go. So that's kind of easy. Then you gotta slide it underneath here. That one in there, good. So it is the next day. I was working on this yesterday afternoon. I kind of have some real nice banker hours down here at the shop. My normal hours are from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Yeah, I've got good hours. I mean, I don't have to get out of bed until about 10 o'clock in the morning. So it makes my life kind of easy. It allows me to, you know, go out and watch bands on the weekend, and go out and, you know, have some fun doing things at night instead of being totally tired from work all day. Alright, here's our A string. But I know what it's like to get up early, because before I got this job, I was a floor coverings guy, so I was a tile layer. And my knees are pretty much shot. But I laid tile for 20 years. And that's how I was able to buy my house and everything. So there's some guys that sort of talk about the Kaler and they don't really like it. Because of the way the string kind of just lays on top. Like that. Guys are like, oh, it gives it no resonance at all. And no sustain. But if you put it into a high gain amplifier, you don't have to worry about any of that. So the reinforced string, what it is that they put some extra winding right here, you know, around the ball and right here. Because that's where these things, a lot of times it would break right there. So Ernie Ball, they're on it, man. They're on the ball. Trying to come up with innovative ways to make strings better. Yeah, big shout out to Dave's guitar channel. Dave Levine, I believe his name is. And I was a guest on his channel last night. It was kind of fun. I can put a link in the description where you can go on there and watch me on Dave's guitar channel. Alright, let's tune it. Just going to put a snark on here. Oh, this is the one that's not flush. Very good. Very good. Alright, let me stretch the strings out a little bit. And then I'll tune this thing up. And then I'm going to strum it a little bit. And that's, for me, that's the fun part. I have a Fender amp that has a lot of gain and echo and reverb and everything. And it kind of has that 80s sound that I like. It's all muddy and everything. Alright, let me take it up to the front and plug it in so I can strum this thing. Okay, so the arm for the Kaler goes right in here. Screws right in right there. And then the amp that I have behind the counter here is, it's my amp, and I've had this thing for, I've had this amp for probably 5 years now. And I just leave it behind the counter. And I don't mess with all the knobs on it. I turn it on, and it gives me the sound that I kind of like. Let me grab a pick. Oh yeah. It's got a ton of delay in it. I mean, listen to, here's the delay that I play. So I'm not sure if you guys can hear that. But let's see, let's tune it up a little bit now. Pretty sure my customer wanted this in standard tuning. He's going to be using this guitar in a Pat Benatar tribute band that he's playing. So he's learning a bunch of Pat Benatar stuff. The old Geraldo stuff. So there it is, pick guard change out on a Strat with a Kaler. I haven't locked these down yet. I'm going to sit here and play it a little bit and then retune it a couple of times and then lock that down. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.